you remember the poem?
Vaguely. Whether left or right or wrong, our opinions make a song. For in the end, we are friends, and your opinion I'll defend.
Sure, that's good, pretty good. I like to think of it as like marches in the Navy. Right or left or right or wrong.
Okay.
Together our voices make a song.
Yeah.
For in the end, we are friends, and your opinion I'll defend. You left, right, left.
My grandpa used to sing one all the time. I got a girl who lives on the hill. She won't, but her sister will. Am I right or wrong? You right. Am I right or wrong? You right. Look up, but don't look down. Ain't no discharge on the ground. Am I right or wrong? You right.
Yeah, they had there's tons of dirty little marching chants and stuff like that, because you get a bunch of guys, it's just a big giant, like boot camp in many ways is a big giant locker room. Maybe not so much these days, because it's a lot of women now, and they got all the sensitivity training they're doing now.
Well, you know what? And I guess, hey, we can just I've been watching Game of Thrones, and a lot of that show is like war and them marching on different houses and different lands. And in one episode, they start off with like this, I don't know what house, but they're, walking down the King's Road, and they're all singing this song. Somebody starts it off, and then the rest of the guys on the horses finish it.
Yep.
And I'm like, that makes sense, because when you're riding 60 miles, 140 miles on horse, or marching that far, like, you got to do something to entertain yourselves. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's like going on a road trip and playing, I Spy or something, or 99 Bottles of Beer on the Wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had these songs on ships. I mean, imagine how long you're on a ship for, especially back in those times when you're, going across seas. So yeah, they had all the sea shanties and stuff. That's like, because they didn't have a radio. They didn't have Sirius XM.
Yeah, it's like, we only got 2 drummers on this ship. The music here sucks, And then it's like you go to a campground or something like that, and there's one guy who barely knows how to play the guitar, and that's your ship, for 6, 8, 10 months. You're out to sea, and there's just one guy who barely knows how to play the G chord, Yeah. So learn how to play that thing before you bring it.
Right. Just, all right, here's Wonderwall again. Like, fuck.
Yeah, he does the same 2 songs over and over again.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder how many of those like sea shanty type songs have slipped into pop culture without the mainstream noticing. You know what I mean? Where someone super popular has done a cover of, some ancient ass song like that was an old marching song or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know that a lot of those like sea shanties and stuff like that end up in like a lot of Irish culture, a lot of Irish songs, a lot of Scottish type music in England, because seafarers, they're all seafarers, and so they frequently come up with these songs. And just like you said, there's nothing else to do. And just like boot camp, you have guys, they get 2 seconds off, they sit there spending their 15 minutes before lights out writing a poem that he can sing at cadence tomorrow. Because that's the only time anyone's voice can come out. It's like, you got to write this poem that we can march to.
Right.
Yeah. And so for people like me who need a creative outlet, no matter what they're doing, I'm the kind of guy who I'll write a cadence. I'll bring my ukulele on board, start a band on the ship.
Yeah, throw you overboard for that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I was watching Star Trek recently, and they had the string quartet on there. And
Really?
I was like, sure. It was like, sure. I mean, it was like, even in that modern era, people would need their culture. They need to bring their culture, their music, with them, no matter where they went, even in, on a galactic scale.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's kind of interesting because music, for example, we're talking about marching cadences. Marching cadences have been in use for a long, long time. When you need to move a bunch of troops and want to one area, number one, you want them all moving at the same pace. So you do the song to get a rhythm in their head, so they're all marching to that rhythm. Plus, it entertains their minds and keeps them from going crazy.
I don't remember any marching songs from Star Wars, or I don't remember like Han Solo playing music on the Millennium Falcon, or like, when like Luke and Obi are like riding through, what is it? Is it Tatooine? When they're like riding around in that like hover car, when Obi-Wan's like, this is not the droids you're looking for.
Sure.
Like they're not riding around listening. The only music I remember from Star Wars that isn't like the classical orchestra music that they do for like Vader marches and all those different things. Like they have all that different music to the movie.
Right.
But the only music I remember being played like of the culture is maybe Jabba the Hutt's, but the Cantina Band.
Cantina Band, Jabba's Palace, and the Ewoks. All right.
Oh yeah, the Ewoks, they get down, bro.
Right. And these cultures were considered like uncivilized in many ways, or rebellious. Like the Hutts are gangsters. They're all a den of criminals, and so they have music. All right. If you're for the rebellion or the empire, there's no culture, but like the empire, the only culture they have is the empire itself.
Right.
All right. And that's very much like how George Lucas intended it to be, is like a fascist dictatorship where the culture is the state.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And the rebels, the only culture they have is the culture of the Jedi.
Right. Which is like a religious culture.
Exactly. And that's the whole point. Is like it up until like Phantom Menace, when they introduced midichlorians, the Force was always portrayed as like a religious thing. The Jedi were warrior monks who did the right thing always and stuff like that. It's very much like a age of chivalry kind of character. But it's also based upon this religious aspect that is completely absent from Star Trek. All right. And so their culture is based upon the Jedi religion, and so because they have that culture, they don't have any radios in their X-Wings,
Right.
They don't listen to music. They just sit there trying to feel the Force all day long.
Right. So yeah, but you're right. It's the lower cultures and the outcasts
or
that appreciate music in the Star Wars realm. Like you said, Jabba the Hutt, they're like gangsters. I mean, the cantina, everyone at the cantina is like, mercenary type people.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a hive of scum and villainy. It's like, some guy in there, he's got the death sentence on 12 systems, It's like every single character in there is probably like that dude, and he's probably having to like talk a big game because everyone else is like 36 systems, or something like that, because he's the guy with no street cred in the cantina bar.
Right. My friend, he doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Yeah. He's just trying. It's like when you go to prison and this one guy's like trying to be real friendly with you. It's like, oh, I guess he's got no other friends here, That's what it's like. Yeah, that's why I think Star Trek is better than. Star Wars is better than Star Trek, is because the Force was originally portrayed as like this religious aspect, and there's no real religion in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it is portrayed at all, it's usually portrayed as a problematic thing in Star Trek. Like any culture they come across that has a religion, this religion's causing them to like, do something stupid or endanger them and so forth. And that's one aspect of Star Trek I didn't like, is that there was, no religion, and religion, if it was portrayed at all, was portrayed as a negative thing of human culture.
What about the Klingons? Did they have religion?
Their religion is the art of war. It's dominance.
Okay.
The Klingons are basically like two dogs growling at each other. Eventually one of them stands down, and that's how you become captain of a Klingon ship.
Okay.
And it doesn't make sense. I don't understand how a society like that could ever build spaceships, but apparently they had. It's
right.
It's kind of weird having like a warrior race like that with that kind of technology. It doesn't seem like a culture could develop enough science to develop that kind of stuff.
Right. Klingons in that manner kind of remind me of that clan from Game of Thrones, the one that Khaleesi like kind of she becomes the Khaleesi of that
the Dothraki.
Yeah, the Dothraki. And they're like, that's how they work. You know what I mean? It's just like power and dominance combat. Whoever's the strongest is the leader. And they're afraid of water. They're like horse and land bound people. They're scared of water. So yeah, it's almost sound like you're saying like the Klingons should be almost like that. Like how could a society like that build ships?
Yeah.
Build to go across the sea or to go across space.
Right. And even the Dothraki, they may have had like steel weapons, or iron weapons, but probably they stole most of them.
Right.
You don't see a whole lot of blacksmiths, traveling around with a nomadic tribe. Blacksmiths need a place to stay.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so you got to understand, it's like they're a horse masters, sure, but they didn't really, they may not know how to craft like bronze or iron weapons. So that's kind of the disadvantage to that. And so they were technologically behind the people of Westeros.
So you feel like with all that being said, that you're saying like the Klingons should have been similar in that you believe it's like a bad representation of what society would evolve to in this.
Yeah, I don't think a society that runs the way the Klingons do, or at least it's how I remember it being portrayed, could ever reach spacefaring level. Yeah, it seems like there'd be constant political infighting. It'd be hard to unify. It's like even the concept of Star Trek, you kind of have to have a globalist ideal in order to get to the Starfleet kind of level, And so I mean,
do you think Star Trek is some kind of weird like predictive programming from the state?
No, not at all. I think that when people see like stuff in entertainment that it's just because entertainment reflects our own culture and it reflects the same ideas back to us. It's like people will say like all these things that the Simpsons predicted or something like that. It's like, but no, the Simpsons is a mirror. It's a entertaining way to look at ourselves and the way we view concepts and dates and how we think at certain times and stuff like that. And so we could say, maybe if the Simpsons predicted that 9/11 would happen, then maybe we as a collective society knew that 9/11 would happen.
Right. Okay. I don't know, but that could also just be a creator that's tapping into the I mean, he's been doing it so consistent and so long, the main creator of Simpsons, that he has to be just entirely tapped in with the muse and that creative divine providence that comes into play when you're really in the zone. I mean, you know how it is, Scott. You've written books and stuff. I've written a lot of comedy. Like, how it is when you get into that groove, and he's been doing it so long and so consistently at such a high level that he has to be like, people like that have to be more tapped into the eternal, infinite, cosmic, shared consciousness that we have, right? Perhaps, and if that is right, and if that concept is true, if that does exist, and he is tapped in, then like, I believe that infinite consciousness, is like past, present, future. It has no bounds.
Sure.
So yeah, it's totally possible that, I mean, people have premonitions for dreams, so why couldn't you have a premonition with an event like that through like a creative premonition, right?
Well, dreams, for example, you talked about like as a creator, a lot of my inspiration comes from dreams. If I have a dream about something funny or whatever, or concept, I can then write it. A lot of inspiration can come from a dream. Yeah. And so, I mean, as a creator, Matt Groening or whatever his name is, he may have that ability that I think all creatives have, and be able to tap into this like common thread that runs through all of us, and portray that in artistic way. you know, it could be that he, because he's a creator of such a popular show, is constantly meeting rich and powerful people who know what's going on in the world, and then he can glean, it's like, oh, this might happen, you know, because of the way all these players are, you know, because I mean, you're a creator of The Simpsons, you know, it's like even Fortune 500 companies have guys in it that, you know, love The Simpsons, you know?
Yeah. Like, The Simpsons, it transcends the bounds of space and time. Or, you know, anyone can appreciate The Simpsons,
I suppose. Eventually it's going to be dated, you know.
Dude, don't roll your fucking eyes at me.
Well, I mean,
I'm glad that you picked Star Wars and then like try to argue with me about Star Trek, because I don't know enough about Star Trek to have that argument.
Well, you know, that's the point, is that nobody knows enough about Star Trek. You know, there's so much shit. There's so many books written about the layout of each and every starship. They have books. I have this book somewhere called the Star Trek Enterprise D Technical Manual. And it's like, you know, those books they make for cars that show you every single inner working of the car and stuff like that. It was kind of like that, only for the Enterprise. And I'm just like, what kind of nerd sat here and thought all this out? You know, and now, you know, now it becomes a canon, a piece of canon with the lore, and it all gets assimilated into the shows, into you know, all the lore of the Star Trek universe. And I'm just like, these guys, you know, they're such nerds, and they so love coming up with like things like the Heisenberg compensator or something like that, you know, because they read some theories, like if they accelerated to warp speed immediately, everyone will be thrown against the wall. So we came up with this device called the Heisenberg compensator or something like that. You know, keeps their inertia normal. It's like, you nerds, why does that matter? Why do you care so much about it to write a whole book about all this technological stuff? And
but as a creator, can't you kind of appreciate that? Like, you know, Tolkien, you know, that's creating universes like Stan Lee or J.R. Tolkien, and Tolkien created an entire language, and you know, all these. I mean, same as Game of Thrones. There's all these different lands and languages. You know, these are entire universes that people created that are, you know, and that's impressive to me as a creator.
Yeah, but when I'm reading Tolkien and I come to a part that's written in Elvish, I'll skip over it because I can appreciate Tolkien without having to learn 3 different languages. You know what I'm saying? And just like Star Trek, so I can enjoy Star Trek without understanding how Jeffries tubes work, you know?
Right. All right.
I don't need to know how to shut down the warp core myself in order to enjoy a television show. You know what I'm saying?
I tried to give Star Trek the benefit of the doubt, but you know what?
No, I hate Star
Trek. I don't even care. Now that I've smoked that reefer cigarette, I don't fucking care.
You don't care anymore? I don't know. I take it pretty personally. Because
I don't care anymore.
I've gotten into so many arguments over Star Wars versus Star Trek over the years, because the Star Trek nerds are super super into it. They're the kind of guys that like would grab everything they could read that had Star Trek written on it, and that's why all those stupid technical manuals were created, because they knew all these Star Trek nerds were buying it up like crazy because they wanted as much lore as they could pack into their heads.
Fuck yeah, dude! Sell that merch. It's all about merchandising.
In Star Wars, after like Return of the Jedi, there was no real lore available. There are a couple comic books that were printed up after Return of the Jedi, but there was no real lore, I think, until like the late 80s, early 90s, when a bunch of fiction writers started writing fan fiction of what else happened in Star Wars.
Right.
And episode 1, 2, and 3 came out, and that all is slightly discussed, you know, in some of the books, but it was after the second trilogy came out, then all that they continued on like writing new Star Wars stuff, but disregarding all that fan fiction that came out in the 90s. And that pissed off a lot of fans, because all those people who bought all those Star Trek manuals, their stuff still is canon. You know, anybody who was buying all those Star Wars books back in the 90s, all their stuff is not, all those great books they read, you're not going to see it in film probably.
Right.
And so I think like Star Wars is a superior thing. I think I mentioned it earlier. It's a superior entertainment. Number one, because it's sci-fi action. Star Trek after the original series is nothing but sci-fi drama. All right. And I don't like dramas. All right, go watch your soap. Keep the soap operas in the offices or Sex in the City or whatever like that. Don't bring it up into space. I don't want that drama up there. This is supposed to be a better society.
Drama in my sci-fi, boy.
Exactly. And so, like, there's always conflict. There's always action going on in a Star Wars movie or story, and there's the whole religious aspect of the Jedi that I really like. Is that there's a faith that moves people, and in Star Trek, there's nothing like that. Everyone is like, the big hurdle is logic. In the original series, you're always up against Spock. It's like, that's not logical. And it's like, well, I'm human. You green-blooded half-breed. They're always getting so mad at him because he doesn't understand the human element. And the human element is that humans are spiritual beings. And I think they kind of ended in the Next Generation. That was Data. You're always running up against Data's logic.
Okay.
And in the Next Generation, I ranted about this at length on my Star Trek episode a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now. Go watch my video Star Trek episode. The first half of the show, I'm just ranting about Star Trek, but they have this character Q that keeps popping up, and he's a godlike character that comes from the Q continuum. He's a godlike creatures, and he comes around just to mess with Picard, just to fuck with the people of the Enterprise, And I said in the show is like, it's how an atheist views God, as just a big dumb kid trying to entertain himself by burning up ants with a magnifying glass, and the ants are us, and that's kind of the way that I think atheists view God. It's also it's also why I don't like Next Generation, is because they introduced the Ferengi, and the Ferengi are a caricature of what socialists think of capitalists. They think that they'll do anything, fuck over anyone, just to turn a buck, and that's why I really don't like Star Trek. And that's why Star Wars is superior, because there's a religious aspect. There, right always seems right, and wrong always seems wrong.
Sounds like Star Trek is a communist plot to try and get me away from Jesus, and I don't appreciate that.
Yes, I think that's a very, very accurate assessment. Screw Star Trek. I love Star Wars.
Yeah,
I mean, not so much the new movies, because the new movies all, they have the same problem of all the movies that have been coming out lately. They're too soft,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a different argument. So Star Wars rules.
Star Wars. Boom. That's where it pops up across the screen.
Star Wars is the winner.
All right, well, that's fucking nerd shit, man. This is too much.
Too much nerd shit.
Yeah, let's talk about cool guy stuff. Let's talk about gambling.
Gambling? All right.
Yeah, alcohol and blackjack.
You like blackjack? Is blackjack your game?
That's the game that I played when I went to Vegas on my recent road trip. It's my first time going to Vegas or going to a casino, and blackjack was a lot of fun, dude. It was cool. It was just the dealer at the table. So my buddy and I get there, and we are like, yeah, you want to play with this dealer? So we sit down and play with him. And then as time goes by, somebody came and sat with us and played with us. And then, it's like us versus the dealer. And I'm just learning how to play casino style blackjack. So I'm learning throughout this process too. And I'm winning and I'm losing, and, same with the other people. And we're all playing against the dealer, and
sure,
we're tipping him, we're getting free drinks, and there's all sorts of madness going on. Some guy won $13,000 on the slot, and he's in the back like, who the king? I'm the king. Who the king? I'm the king. And then, we had this, the first guy that came, he left, and then another gentleman came, and then this couple came. So we had a full table, we're all playing, and it was the best time, dude. We spent 4 hours there. I walked away with $150.
Nice.
But it was just fun. It was a fun experience to have, you know what I mean? And being in that chaos, that swirl of madness of humanity, and
oh, absolutely.
You know me, I'm we're all the infinite consciousness of God. Look at what the universe has done to itself to keep itself going crazy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To stop boredom. Look at all this. Look at this madness. And and it's all chaos.
Yes.
Like,
It's
but at the
chaos.
same time, you can almost kind of see the dance of it all, that it's chaotic, but it's all very organized in this weird, like, I don't know, when you look, for some reason, the casino was a perfect place for me, you know, to see the universe from a macroscopic level and to see it from above. And you can just kind of see it's all, you know, it's like riding, it's a small world after the fucking, you know, it's all programmed to kind of do that. You know, it's everything's in harmony. That's what it was. It was like, it's chaotic, but it's also kind of harmonious. You know,
Yeah.
it was the strangest thing.
Well, it's like dances, you know, dances can seem chaotic, but in many ways they're harmonious.
Yeah,
you know, they'll rhyme, it's like a cadence in that regard. It's like, you know, it's something we can all fall in lockstep to, you know. And so when it comes to like a casino, you're right, it is a lot of chaos, it's a lot of controlled chaos, and it's all designed that way to distract people, so people aren't focusing on things like counting cards and so forth. And so but I always like to picture people, every single person is like a mini tornado running around like Tasmanian devil, you know. And sometimes, you know, storms can circle other storms and stuff like that, and and because of the way they move, they're not less destined necessarily to drive right into each other. They tend to skirt around each other, you know. And so every single person is this little storm coming and sitting at your blackjack table, you know. They bring in all the stuff that's swirling in their dust cloud, you know, and to bring it with them, you know, whether it be, you know, anger, or it's like, I just lost at the craps table, now I gotta sit at the blackjack or something like that. And it's like, ooh, I just hit it big at the slots, so I'm gonna sit down at a table for a while, you know, that kind of thing. They bring all this stuff, and it's all very controlled, but you're also like all unified, like you say, against the dealers. Like, you don't dislike them, you're not playing against them. I think that's what poker's for. Is that's how you like create grudges with other players, is play poker.
Right, because that's a player versus player game.
Yeah. And so it's like the death match of casinos. And so you know, people could take that quite personally, you know. Dealers and stuff like that, they are the anonymous enemy, you know. They represent the house who wants to take your money, you know. It's like, get this dealer, you know. Obviously you can't reach across the table and punch him or something like that, you know. Probably get charges put on you, you'll get thrown in prison or something like that.
Yeah, it's not his fault, he's just pulling the card. And so it's not like he's winning, you know what I mean? He's not winning money off of you losing. He's just he's the representative. He's the face of the enemy, and so that's And so that allows the players to you know, congregate and get to know each other and become friends. I mean, I think you've tapped upon what's really fun about gambling is you know, is the passions that you can get on board with. You know, somebody else is having a hot streak, you can be like, hey man, you can live a little bit off of that high with them. And it becomes like it's a communal thing, you know.
Absolutely.
It's fun. It's
absolutely. And I like craps because it's even more chaotic if you play craps than it is like blackjack. Blackjack's kind of slow for my taste, in the sense that the speed at which craps goes down, you know. There's, especially if it's a hot table, there's a bunch of people around it, you know, there's a lot of crosstalk and stuff like that, and it all happens very fast. Little short comments people make is like, I bet, you know, double six is coming, put me on the horn. It's all quick bets and stuff like that, and no more bets. And then the roller, you know, it's all real quick, you know. And I like that about craps, because it's all very fast paced and chaotic and beautiful. It's like a dance, you know. And the way people like when like a bunch of people cheer at a table or something like that, or they're all like, oh, you know, it's all like, I don't know, like a concert or something like that, you know.
Right, yeah, it's like when a bunch of people are watching like a football game or something.
Absolutely.
The dice become like your gladiators, you know what I mean, and the table is the Coliseum.
Yeah. And obviously, like, sports betting is probably the largest amount of gambling that takes place in this country. You know, people bet on sports more than they do anything else. You know, and
especially now with all these you know, fantasy football, and then they were like, well, we'll let them bet on fantasy football, and then a lot of gambling laws have loosened up in a lot of states.
Yeah.
And everybody's got the MGM Sportsbook or DraftKings. This podcast is actually brought to you by no, but yeah,
you better send me half that check, man.
Yeah, I will. I got you, bro. But yeah, you're right. I mean, my friend Pete and I, you can go watch Pete and I on other podcasts. You've you know Pete. He loves gambling. He loves the casino and shit like that. But him and I were betting a lot on baseball and stuff last year. Like that made baseball fun for me. I never really got into baseball, and then you start betting on who's going to hit a home run, or betting on doing these 16 parlays, and like you're watching all these different games and shit. It's fun. It's a good time.
Well, it gets you motivated to read the sports pages, that's for sure. Start pouring through the stats, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the betting, takes place on sports, and a lot of the original betting was based upon, betting upon sports, betting upon two teams playing each other.
Right.
And
boxing.
So, yeah. And so if you don't like a sport, like say hockey, like if we were gambling like in Halifax or something like that during hockey season, and you said, hey, let's bet on a hockey game. It's like, I don't know a damn thing about hockey. Let me pick a team name I like, see who's playing today. It's like, okay, I like this team. Timberwolves or something like that. I don't know. Is that a hockey team? I don't know.
It's a basketball team, but you were close.
Okay. But Timberwolves sounds like a hockey team name.
It does.
But I would pick the team based upon, it's like horses. I bet the horse with the name I like, because I don't care about the stats of horse racing, just like I don't care about the stats of hockey. And so whoever's betting me in hockey, betting against me in hockey, or betting against me in horse racing, I know I'm going to lose, but I'm going to have fun anyway, because I want the horse with a cool name to win. I want the Timberwolves to win because I like their name, or I like their colors, or something like that.
Yeah.
If I don't care about the stats, I bet upon my gut,
Right.
And that's how I get fun out of it. I knew guys that would pour over baseball stats and racing stats and stuff like that, so that know where the smart money to place their bet, because the fun for them was the gambling. For me, it was watching some horse named Sucking Lemons to race.
Yeah, no, it makes the game much more fun and entertaining when there's money on it. You know what I mean? Like
based upon how I enjoy gaming. How my personal taste in gaming. Some guy may like the game by studying the stats. Some guy may like to read blackjack books before hitting the casino. Some guys try counting cards. That's just like, that takes all the fun out of blackjack, if you ask me. Counting cards, sitting there, +1, 0, +1, -1.
I like just playing and just It took me a minute to learn, and my buddy that I was with was like, "No, don't do that. What are you doing? Don't hit on 16." But I'm like, I understand. Like, I understand to a degree what I'm doing and the fucking odds, but like, I want to play. Like, this is fun. You know what I mean? Like, fuck it. But then you start learning, like, no, the dealer has to fucking, he has to draw a soft 17. You know what I mean? Like, at least. So it's like, okay, you start learning how to like all you have to do is beat the dealer. You don't have to get 21. You don't have to do anything crazy. Man, yeah.
So you wanted to hit on 16?
I think I did hit on 16 once or twice.
You're like Danny DeVito in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Hit me. Come on, hit me. Hit me.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Because I only hit on 12, up to 12.
Yeah, I bet you do, Scott.
Yeah. If it's 13 or higher, I don't take a card. It's like,
really?
Yeah. People say I'm stupid for that, but a lot of times the dealer will bust and I won't.
What if it's like 2 7s? Will you split?
No, not 7s. No.
7s are lucky, Scott.
It depends. I know, but there's other numbers that are luckier.
Well, the other thing of that too is like when you're playing with other people, that's how you kind of want to look. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to fuck up the deck and the pulls for the next people. There's an aspect of that too when you're playing blackjack. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you start noticing like, oh, he busted on 16 and I needed that 9 that he just got. If I got that 9, I'd have,
Right. But if that's your decision to take that personally, you still have to play your cards. You have to respect me enough to let me play my cards. All right. And if you're going to sit there and whine, it's like, I have to bust my cards because you wanted the card that came after mine or that I got, screw you. No offense. That's your money. This is my money. All right. I'm serious about my money. Screw your money. At the end of the day, it is cutthroat, but I mean, we can all ride high when the dealer busts.
And that's blackjack, and that's where blackjack can kind of become player versus player. It's like, you're fucking up my shit.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, screw your cards. All
right, give me one good casino story. I told you my one casino experience. Tell me your.
I was in the Bahamas. And we were at what was it called? Paradise Island Hotel and Casino, I think it was. I can't remember what it was called. And over the couple days we were there, we saw a couple celebrities. Saw Dustin Hoffman, saw Michael Jordan, all gambling in that casino. And I went up to this craps table. It's a pretty active table. It's the kind of table I would like to walk in on. And I walk in and I could place a couple field bets as dice could start going around. Finally came into me to shoot. And this guy who has like a big stack of chips in front of him, and he's real loud and outspoken at the table. And I was like, okay. And the dice come to me and he goes, who's shooting now? The kid? And he takes like a big stack of like $50 chips, places it on don't pass. I bet don't pass. I don't think this kid can shoot. So I bet pass. I got my $5 minimum and he's got like $300 on don't pass on me. Boom. I throw a 7. Boom. I win. He loses. He goes, oh, he's still not going to make it. Keeps betting against me. Don't pass. Don't come. All that stuff. I'm betting pass. I'm betting fields. I'm betting comes. And I keep rolling 7s. He's, I won maybe like $50 during the time I was rolling, but he lost like, $800 or something like that. And that's what I like about craps. Somebody will get an impression on you. It's like, I don't think this kid could shoot. You can come out there and you start shooting like you have any control over that. You get this little kismet thing going on, this little ha. Don't underestimate me, pal. I hope you lose more money than I intend to gamble with the entire time here.
Bro, what was that laugh that you did? Do that laugh.
I don't know if I can repeat it. I may have to clip it out. In the moment. Yeah, that was one story. When I was in Halifax, I was playing roulette, and there's like 3 other players at the table, and I bet as I normally do at roulette with Black 13 and 31, and everyone's giving me looks and stuff like that. This is Halifax, so it's Canada. People are a little bit weird anyway. And so Black 13 hit. Boom, big win for me. I won like $100 Canadian. Then I made this, and then everybody got up and walked away from the table except me. So I put another bet on Black 13, popped up again, boom, won another $100 Canadian. Yeah, $200. So I said, screw it, I guess I'm done gambling. And so I went and took the chips, found my friends, and I said, hey, I just won like $200 and 2 spins of the wheel. Let's go get some steaks.
Hell yeah.
So I took out a bunch of my friends for steaks. And that's the whole point of winning, I think. So when you're up, spread it around, spread the wealth around.
Yeah.
So those are my 2 favorite stories when it comes to gambling: that craps table where the guy bet against me, and winning that roulette game, and then going to have some delicious Canadian steaks. Canada. Yeah. When I was up there, I had to buy some cigarettes. And I went up there and said, hey, I need some cigarettes. It's like, what kind of darts you like? And I said, you have any American cigarettes? It's like, yeah, but they're real expensive, eh? And I was like, oh, you got some local cigarettes? Yeah. He gave me a pack of cigarettes. I forget what they're called, but they came in packs of 25. And I was like, why 25? Why not 20 like everything else? I didn't know. It's like, you're from here. You work at a tobacco store. Why do Canadian cigarettes come in packs of 25? Oh, I don't know.
Well, why do American cigarettes come in packs of 20?
I have no idea.
Exactly. Because we're even on it. See, we're not so different from Canadians.
I guess. I suppose so. I mean, I know why there's six packs came to be, because some beer council in like the 1920s or something like that decided like that's the most beer a woman could safely carry.
That's funny.
It's messed up is what it is. Because I've seen chicks carrying cases.
No, dude, there's a lot of women who can drink a lot more than I can. I had some friends back in the day that they used to carry cases. They used to drink Natty Ice, Natty Light before fucking high school, before homeroom.
Yeah. Oh God.
My friends were alcoholics, is what I'm trying to say.
That's what I'm picking up.
Them, and I'm not judging them.
Sure.
I have a terrible marijuana habit. I used to smoke a lot of crack.
Yeah, I mean, there's worse things than being an alcoholic.
Yeah,
but I mean,
look at this.
But I mean, I was in the Navy.
I should be. If anyone should be an alcoholic, it's fucking me.
I don't know. You weren't in the Navy. I don't know. I was in the Navy, so I kind of had to take it. It's like a secondary skill. Something you pick up in the Navy. And of course,
I like rum. So
yeah. See, that's the thing. I don't have any tattoos, and I really don't like rum. I prefer bourbon.
Okay.
I may have Scottish ancestry, but I don't like Scotch. What can I tell you?
Do you like Dornish wine?
No.
No.
Get murdered over that.
Yeah. That's how you get poisoned.
Yeah. How far along are you in Game of Thrones?
All right, so like the last major thing to happen was like Joffrey died. Jaime Lannister just sent like that female knight. I don't know her name.
Brianna.
Yeah, he just sent her to like go save Sansa.
Yeah,
Sansa's with Littlefinger.
Yeah,
and I think.
Okay.
The Targaryen girl, Khaleesi, Daenerys
Targaryen.
So she's like, she's just had her like, she's just freed her third city of slaves.
Oh, okay.
What else? What are the other storylines? Jon Snow is leaving the wall to go to
his watch has ended.
He's leaving the wall to go to the mutineers, to go get the mutineers, and Brandon just got taken hostage by the mutineers.
Okay.
The ones that are at like they're like beyond the wall.
Yeah,
feeding babies to the White Walkers.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the last suspenseful ending is the White Walker knight comes and gets the baby and then takes it out into the snow like the middle of nowhere to this ice fucking
Fortress of Solitude or something like that.
Yeah, and it's got like this big like ceremonial fucking altar in the middle and all the ice things around it.
Yeah, Northerners.
And then they put the baby on the thing and you see like the White Walker with like the bald head, and he like comes up and picks up the baby and touches it.
Yep.
And it like turns to ice and its eyes turn blue. That was like the last episode I watched.
Okay. But I mean, King Joffrey, that was a big event, right?
Yeah, that was the last big event.
Yeah.
So I've seen that. I saw the Red Wedding. Dude, when the Red Wedding happened, I like stood up. I like jumped like I'm a sports fan. So like I'm like sitting in the living room watching it. And she sees his chainmail, the guy's chainmail, the mom. And she's like,
it's on, yeah.
And when it happened, I was like, oh shit. And then the assassin dude just comes out of nowhere. It's like pow, 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 and stabs the girl in the belly like 3 times. And like when that happened, I jumped up. I was like, no. I was like, what?
You kidding me? I was like, good.
I did not see. I didn't see it coming, man. Like
how brutal it would be, right? Yeah.
Well, I just didn't. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, Ari's about to be back with them. Like everything, like some shit is coming together. All this stuff that's been like suspenseful for so long, and you're like waiting for it to come together. Yep. And then they're like, hey, you know, every like trope and every show and movie and story, like fuck that. We're about to do this.
Yep.
And so just everything that I was like hoping for and expecting to happen with the story did not happen in the worst possible way. And then they just killed off like 3 main characters at one time, and I was like, what the fuck?
It was great.
But I appreciated it, like especially as a creator. I was like, wow, like he had me, you know what I mean? Like he edged me and edged me for like 3 seasons, and then was like, nope, I'm not, nope, you don't get to come. And I'm like, what? Why can't I come?
Yep. Trimming these storylines that you like them so much. Closing this thread.
I think it's a great show so far.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think it kind of unravels from where you're at, but it's still got some good stuff upcoming for you. Yeah, I like the Red Wedding. I like Joffrey dying. That was a very satisfying death. You know, because I wanted to kill that kid from day one. You know.
Yep. Yeah.
I was hoping, like way back, you know, when they came to Winterfell, I was hoping a direwolf would chew his ass up. You know.
But they did a really good job with that too, of him being a villain. You know what I mean? Like they did such a good job of making that a character that you fucking hate.
And that's very, very challenging in many ways to make a character unlikable, you know. That can be quite challenging. I mean,
especially a kid too.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to understand he's still a child actor, and he had that face. You had to have that kind of look on your face, like a constant scowl, you know, arrogant scowl on his face. And so, you know, it's challenging to become that hateful because there's only so much the lines can do for an actor. You know, a lot of his lines like showed the way he thought and the way that he's a sadistic little shit, you know, inbred shit, you know. It's like
yeah, but the actor, you're right, he did do a really good job of like just portraying him in a way that's like, God, I fucking hate you. You're just like every, you know. It was such a good trope of that, you know, the God with the magnifying glass burning his, you know.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about earlier.
He was cruel. Yeah. And what in defense of Joffrey, you got to understand is like, you know, people were slapping him all throughout the series, all up into his death. Even after he got made king, his mom slapped him. You know? And so in defense of Joffrey is like, you know, that becomes a nature or nurture kind of debate. He may be an inbred little shit, but you know, he was raised by Baratheons and who are the Lannisters. So, you know, to constantly get smacked growing up is like, I'd be pretty pissed off at the world too and want to be cruel to everybody I can, you know. And so in defense of Joffrey, you know, you can kind of understand that character. If you go back, you see how many times he gets slapped throughout the course of the series, you know, because it's kind of insulting, especially if you're a man and a king, you know, to be slapped with like an open hand. That's like insulting. It's like even back in the old days when slapping was cool, you know, it was.
Yeah. It's just a lot of the shit he did is that, like, you know, is like a cruel child is like, if that type of child was given this amount of power, like these are exactly the things that he would fucking do. Like everything that he did was like just to that archetype. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, he kind of like followed the path, as it were, expectedly. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
and so that's why, like, I feel that somebody needs to speak up for Joffrey. Is like, did he have any other choice but to behave in that way? Because he felt like he wasn't being respected, or treated as an equal, even if he was the king. Even if talking with his grandfather, like swinging his dick around while he's the king.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean,
I like Tywin.
Yeah, Tywin's the smartest of the bunch.
Yeah. And he's always very calm, and like he takes his time before answering questions. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And
once again, the actor does a good job playing him, but
he's an incredibly accomplished actor, the guy who plays him.
Yeah.
But you'll see, like, what's Peter Dinklage's character? Forget his name.
Tyrion.
Yeah, Tyrion. He becomes more like Tywin in the later seasons. As the seasons go on, he becomes more thoughtful and thinks a little bit before he speaks, and so forth. You can see him become more like Tywin as the series goes on,
as opposed to just like popping off. And I mean, I have already kind of seen like what you mean. You know what I mean? The more that he's been around like war and been around his dad and been the king's hand and had these different positions and trying to save his own ass, the more that he's gone from being like just a smart ass to more calculated in like what he says and does.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of what's interesting about his characters, that you get to see, or about any character really in the series, you get to see them grow over time. I mean, you get to see Sansa, grow over time. Same with Ari, growing over time. And I think it's a good thing. It's like because at the beginning of the series, Sansa was
all excited. She's like, please, I want to be princess. It's all I've ever wanted.
Very naive and optimistic and stuff like that. But
right, yeah.
But
now she has like Stockholm syndrome for the longest time.
Yeah, and she becomes a true Stark in many ways, and so I really like her character because it shows that like how she went from this idealistic young girl into like ruthless player in this Game of Thrones. And so I mean, I think it's really cool. I like her character a lot.
And her, because as they've been like almost kind of tormenting her and like trying to psychologically like I don't even like they've been trying to hypnotize her in a lot of ways, like Cersei especially, and the Tyrell women and Littlefinger. So I can see how all the ways that all these people have been like trying to manipulate her and psychologically fucking torture her and alter the way that she thinks how she's gonna, because
or what she's gonna do. Absolutely.
Littlefinger tell her, everybody's a liar in King's Landing, or everybody lies in King's, something to that accord.
Yeah.
But you can see how she's gonna start like playing the game herself, and she's been taught how to play the game by some of the best people in the game.
Absolutely, that's a very good point. She has the best training she ever could have had was in King's Landing. That was like her going to college.
Yeah. I mean, as traumatic as it was, I could see how. I mean, okay. I haven't got that far yet. She's just now on Littlefinger's boat. She's been framed for murder.
Right. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming for Sansa. So keep an eye on her. She's one of those great characters I like.
I like Ari though. Ari might be my favorite.
Yeah, I guess.
She's little and she's spunky, and she just killed like her first people. She's with the Hound.
Yeah.
And they've been kind of like,
her and the Hound is one of my favorite team ups though.
Yeah, it's been one of mine too.
Yeah.
There's a scene. So there's a scene that I've watched before that is like coming up, and it's the prince from, I want to say it's the prince from Dorne.
Okay.
He's like in King's Landing, and he thinks the mountain killed.
I know what's coming. I know
whatever. So my friend Andy showed me that scene before, that fight scene, like without any other context of the show other than like just what I've heard through pop culture, like
Yeah.
drag, pretty much what I know from South Park, Dicks and Dragons.
Right.
So he showed me that scene where the mountain fights that guy, and so I don't want to do any spoilers for anybody else that hasn't watched the show yet, even though I've already done some spoilers on here. But I'm excited to see what happens there and to see the mountain come back and how he, like, if he starts getting more involved in the story and stuff.
Oh yeah, I don't want to spoil it for you, man.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I will say that it's interesting. Yeah.
God, I thought. Yeah, now that we've been talking about it, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody else that might want to go watch it for the.
But like I said, we could try to keep in generalities. Like the only character I hate more than Joffrey is Jon Snow. I hate that guy. I hate that
Jon
guy.
Snow?
Yes. He's always doing the wrong thing. Always does the wrong thing. And he survives. I've always, when I first started watching Game of Thrones, and after a couple seasons, I was like, if Jon had a character sheet, if Jon Snow had a character sheet, his highest stat would be his luck stat. You know? Because for some reason he keeps making the wrong bad decision and keeps surviving. You know, normal people should get killed over this. Normal people should be killed because of this. You know? It irritated me. It irritates me to no end. I hate that guy.
My other buddy that I've been talking to about the show, he always was like, fuck Jon Snow, and he didn't like Rob either. So why don't you guys like Rob or Jon? Is it because of their like military? Is it because they're supposed to be like military and they're supposed to be liked? And you're like, no, you're doing this wrong because you guys have military backgrounds. You're like, no, that's not how you should be doing this.
It could be. I think it's because I think what's her name? Catelyn Stark. Anyway, she comes up upon these guys and they're all jousting and having a little tournament, these knights, and she comes up and she's described them as like, these are the knights of summer and winter is coming, you know. And I think there's a point to that. It's like the knights of summer are the like knights who grew up in the era of the long summer, you know. They never really seen the harshness of winter, you know. And winter, you know, that's where things become very cruel and stuff like that, like the Hound on the road with Arya, you know, where it becomes very cold and cutthroat and desperate.
Yeah, he's been kind of showing her, and she's not liking it, but she's kind of coming around to like, this is kind of the way we have to do things. You know, I think he's just like, you know, he killed this farmer or something. Yes. And he was like, and took their silver.
They wouldn't.
They weren't going to survive through the winter anyway.
Exactly.
They're too nice. Like they're not hard enough to fucking survive out here. Like,
and that I think that was Kat's point, is that, you know, these kids who grew up have never seen a winter, you know, but people like the Hound, they have lived through a winter. People like Ned Stark lived through a winter. Ned Stark may have been a good leader because he lived through a winter. All right. But Rob and Jon, they grew up in the summer months. So they have no real understanding of what, you know, the right thing to do in every situation is. You know, that makes them a little bit like careless. And so I think that people who served in the military know that, you know, somebody who is that, it's like Rob going after that girl that he shouldn't have been messing with. You know, it's like, that's not what you should do as a leader. You should, if you promise to marry somebody, you don't follow your heart if you're a leader of men. You know, you got to do what you got to do. You got to honor your alliances as a military leader in order to, you know, get crossing and stuff like that and keep the peace, you know.
Then you let that, you know, and they, you know, throughout the show before that, they kind of hint at it because they talk about the Stark men and the, you know, that family, the Winterfell people, like, and how they love their women, you know, how they honor their women. And they do, they treat their women differently than pretty much anybody else that you see in the, you know, Jaime's fucking his sister and the other guy's like whoring his daughters out because he's got too many of them. Another one's, you know, a couple of them are like sleeping with all their daughters, or, you know, it's, you know, or even Tywin is like, you know, commanding Cersei to marry, you know, the Tyrell, the renowned pillow biter, as she called him. So you see all the pretty much Winterfell, the Starks, and then I guess Sam, the hefty guy from the Wall, they're like the only ones who treat the women with any respect. Pretty much everybody else in the fucking realm
treats them like property. Yeah,
treats women like property to be traded or whatever. You know, they're either whores or they're goats.
Yeah, like goats. Yeah, and I think that's interesting because you don't see that a whole lot in popular entertainment these days, where women are in this second citizen kind of role. You know, but you got to understand, you know, there's still places in the world where it's like that. You know? And
and when you're doing like, I mean, when you're doing something that's kind of like a period thing, you know, it's fantasy, but everything is very much of this certain period and of this certain culture.
It's based on history.
Period.
Yeah.
You know, it's based on a certain part of history. So knowing that, you have to just understand, like, that's how things would have been in this realm, in this universe. You know?
Like the King's Landing is kind of like Londinium. You know, Londinium was a distant outpost of the Roman Empire. The first men are the Romans coming to Londinium and pushing up north, you know, through England. And there's a wall in England called Hadrian's Wall. And that was a wall to keep out the wildlings, or the Scottish, as they're now known. You know, back in the day, there are a bunch of redheads lived in the north that are real crazy. Yeah. And so that's
what I kind of noticed that about the show. Like, you can tell, like, okay, this is that. You know, to the east is like where the Dothraki and all these like
desert lands. You got nomadic people like the Dothraki, or like what are they called? The Mongols, you know, nomadic horse lords and so forth. You know, it's all kind of like based upon history. Even Pike, in many ways, is supposed to be like Ireland, because it's an island nation to the west of like Winterfell and stuff like that. So I mean, it's it's all kind of based upon England and the European history in many ways. And so, because, you know, the Mongols, like the Dothraki, you know, spread all over Asia, all the way into Europe and stuff like that, to the point where like 1 in every 5 people has Mongol blood in them on Earth today. You know, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think it's a good show. I think you got a lot more fun stuff in store for you. And
season 4.
Yeah, when you're done, I'd like to hear your comments, because I do think it kind of unravels in terms of how good it is from that point where you're at to the end. But there is still some good stuff coming.
This is a prerequisite to a potential future discourse about Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones in completion, kind of retrospect.
So this is us just, you know, edging you guys a little bit.
Yeah, we're edging you. We're not as good as George R.R. Martin, but but we promise there'll be no incest. It's funny. It's like how often it comes up in the stories that involve, you know, it's like so many people incestuous. It's like, yeah, these long winters, man. I guess it'd make people different, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That makes sense. All right. Are you ready, Scott?
Yeah. This is going to be number 11, you know?
Yeah.
Scott versus Scott, number 11.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, we'll catch you up next time.
Whether left or right or wrong, our voices make a song.
I'm doing the harmony.
And
we are friends. Your opinion, I'll defend. Did the harmony part.